can't say that word.
Hey, it's Rob, and welcome to Axel's Garage. Yep, we're in the car again. There's Mark. There's Amanda. Yep, it means we're going to look at another car. So, how the story goes is at work, I see this Suburban, maroon. Not that I'm looking for a car, but I just happen to see it.
For a car.
And I see it, and it's parked in a spot where employees normally park for about a week, and it's not a normal car, it's not a regular, it stood out to me. And last night I went to take a closer look, and it's got a temporary parking pass in it, and there was a note in it saying if any problems, call Jojo with a number. You know who Jojo is, right?
I could guess based on the color of the car.
Jojo was a man who thought he was a loner.
Oh.
And in 2022, Jojo is a man who thought he was a woman. Right?
Did I say that?
Yeah.
Oh.
Anyway, so I send Jojo a text. Hey, is that Suburban for sale? I asked around. Nobody knew who Jojo was, figuring it's an employee. Text Jojo. Turns out Jojo's not an employee. Jojo's a parent who went to go see his daughter last week at school, and his car was in the shop, so he took the spare car, which is the Suburban, and when he got to the school, he said there was a leak under the Suburban. So he thinks it's transmission fluid, and he didn't want to drive it, so he left it there, and he's out of the country right now. But I got the keys, and long story short, I got the keys, and we're going to go look at this Suburban, because apparently he's willing to sell it. Probably because I don't know where he lives, but he's not real close, and he's probably got to, pay a tow bill to get it home. Mm-hmm. And being that it's an extra car, he was probably thinking about getting rid of it. It's almost 20 years old. It's a 2003, which seems to be every Suburban that we've had in the last several years has been a 2003. So we're going to go look at it. Alright, so as you can see, it looks pretty clean. 160 something thousand miles. Dead gauges, speedometer, oil pressure, they're going directly down, so the stepper motors are shot on the gauges. Problem is transmission fluid, one of the cooling lines let go and dumped all the transmission fluid out. Did you put your seatbelt on?
It's yours, fucko. It's still gonna go.
Problem is, we don't know how long he drove it. The fluid's, dark, not burnt, but dark. Probably never been changed. Why you? And that's the concern is, did the tranny fry? And there's really no way to determine that. You fix the line, you top it back off of fluid and drive it and see would you stop? So, we'll see. We'll give Jojo a call and see what we come up with. So we came home, thought about what we were going to tell the gentleman that had that Suburban, and I said, well, how did the line start leaking? So I went back over there and I took a better look at it. I was thinking that something came up into the line, bent it up into the air conditioning idler pulley, and that looks like this. So this mounts, would mount this way. If my hand was the front of the engine, this mounts this way, and what it does is it puts spring tension on the air conditioning belt, which goes around the crank pulley, and it goes to the air conditioning compressor on the which is mounted down low on the passenger side. So what this does is this is spring loaded, and you can see if I hold this back, you can see how it's spring loaded and it rides in there. So the spring pressure in this pushes the belt up. What happened in this particular vehicle is this spring broke in this, which I've never seen. I've seen them get sloppy and wobbly and make noise and not have good tension, but I've never seen it completely break where this pulley, as it was mounted, kind of flopped down, and it flopped down and laid against the steel transmission cooling line but still enough to touch the belt. So the belt's spinning because the crank's spinning, which is spinning this pulley, and this pulley is resting on the steel transmission line. And what happens eventually, it wore through the line, popped the leak, spraying transmission fluid all over the place. So when he stopped the vehicle and parked it for a while, transmission fluid is continually leaking out of that line. It's actually draining out of the cooler in the radiator and causing a puddle on the floor, which is what he noticed. He recognized it as transmission fluid and said, you know what, I'm gonna rent the car and go back home. The 3.5, 4 hour trip that he had home, I'm not gonna drive this. Smart move, right? So we got in touch with the guy, told him what we found. We said, listen, it's a transmission cool line. I think they're about anywhere from $50 to $100 for the set of two, buying a remanufactured, not a remanufactured, but a aftermarket, or you can go to GM, and I think they're about $100 for the set. So not a ton of money for the part, a little bit of labor to put it in. The problem was you can't drive the vehicle the way it is, so it's either tow it out of there, do the actual repair on your back, or put a piece of rubber hose or a compression fitting or something in there to seal up that leak temporarily until you can make a permanent repair. You know, most car guys, a piece of rubber hose, cut the line, nice piece of rubber hose, and that's a semi-permanent repair. Anyway, I gave him that information. I really liked the vehicle. Everything else checked out good. The gauges didn't work. This part here, about $30 or $40 for this part, so it needs this. It needs a AC belt because that AC belt got a little chewed up when this flopped around. So you got an AC belt, you got this, and you got a repair on the line. Not a big issue. The big issue to me is the unknown. How long did he drive? How low was he on fluid? Did he damage the transmission? Well-maintained vehicle, no doubt. It's spotless in and out. Underneath, there's no rust, there's no damage, there's no anything. The interior is like new. I've never seen a vehicle that really wasn't up for sale that clean. I don't think I've even seen a vehicle, you know, that's almost 20 years old, ready for sale. Somewhere where somebody got it ready and cleaned it that, you can't clean it that good. The thing is just immaculate inside. It really is what they call a cream puff. So 168,000 miles on it, and it's like barely used. And the guy, I spoke to the guy, I was texting him back and forth for about a week, and I offered him, I made him an offer on it. I said, I would be glad to offer you more. My problem is I feel like I'm gambling with the life of the transmission. It could work a day, it could work a month, it could work a year, it could work 10 years. It's a giant gamble, and the transmission rebuild to bring it somewhere and get a unit, you know, get it rebuilt and have the labor, parts, everything. It's right around $2,250 to $2,500. And I told him, I said, I'd love to pay you what the car is worth, because it really is worth it. I love it. It's everything we were looking for, even though we weren't looking for a car. But I said it's a gamble on the transmission, so I kind of figured in what a transmission rebuild would be, made him an offer. He came back with a counter offer, and we kind of negotiated on a price that was reasonable, with still enough room in there where it was cheap enough that if I had to put a transmission in, it would still be worth it for me in the end, you know, for the vehicle. So we spoke on the phone. Then after that, we made the deal, and it took about a week or two. He, like I said earlier, he was out of the country. We made the deal and bought the vehicle. So what I did, like any good car guy, I crawled underneath and I put a piece of hose in place, and I'll show you that now. So right up under the vehicle here, you could see my rubber hose repair, and I just gave it a nice clean cut with a tubing cutter, put a piece of rubber hose in between, two hose clamps nice and tight. Right above it, you can see that idler pulley. The pulley itself is not anywhere near the line now, because I sort of bent the line out of the way a little bit, just so that broken pulley wouldn't fall into the line, even though there's no belt on it anymore. So it's not spinning, and it's not any threat of breaking the line any more than it is already, because it can't spin anymore now that we got the belt off. And that was enough to be able to refill the transmission, and it's not leaking at this time. Like I said, that's really a temporary repair, but for most car guys, it's a permanent repair. And if you really want to get fancy on a permanent, temporary style repair, you could always put a compression fitting in and eliminate the rubber line. So now that you saw what the damage was, and what I had to do was put that rubber line in, 5 quarts of transmission fluid. It was a little low on oil, quart of oil, a little low on antifreeze, about a half gallon of antifreeze. Checked all the fluids, warmed it up, drove around the parking lot at work. Everything seemed to be fine. I'm like, all right, maybe I dodged a bullet with this transmission. Seems to be, everything seems to check out. It goes into reverse, goes into drive fine, shifts from first to second, which was all I could get it to do in the parking lot of work. So parked it for a week, got the insurance and registration and all that handled, and you know, like 2 weeks went by, and said, okay, we're finally gonna bring it home. So I started up one morning after work and pull out onto the main road, drive down the block. Let me tell you something, this thing drives like it's brand new. So look at it. It is an absolute cream puff. But like all good things, you got Rob luck. So as I'm driving away and I'm realizing there's not a shake, there's not a rattle, there's not a sound, there is nothing. And when I mean nothing, I mean no third gear. That's right. First gear, second gear, and when it went to shift to third, it just, woohoo, that tack just pegged, and I knew then I bought a truck with a burnt up transmission. Luckily, like we said, the guy was a gentleman. He wanted to sell it at a reasonable price, knowing the gamble I was taking, the unknown on the transmission, whether it was going to last a day, a week, a year, or 10 years. It didn't even last a day. It didn't last at all. The transmission was shot all along. We just had no way of knowing unless we actually road tested it. And like I said, it was the right truck. The guy gave it to me for the right price. So putting a transmission in it isn't out of the budget for something like this, except we weren't looking to buy a truck. So kind of is out of the budget because we didn't need nor want another truck. It came to us. These trucks just come to us, and that's what happened. So there she is. We named her Ginger. Not because she's, well, a little because she's sort of red, but we named it after Ginger from Gilligan's Island. So Ginger it is. Ginger is going to go on a trip soon, so we got to get Ginger's transmission done, and for that, another video. As always, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy the channel, and we'll see you on the next video.